How to face the raw truth and use it as personal power. Carl Jung.
This story takes you on a profound journey of self-discovery and female empowerment, showing how to face the raw truth of your own life and transform it into personal power. The intimate narrative blends philosophy, psychology, and neuroscience, creating both identification and emotional connection. Throughout the story, you will realize that many patterns of suffering come from automatic choices and resistance to facing reality. Drawing on the teachings of Carl Jung and other thinkers, the narrative reveals how awakening awareness, cultivating self-care, maintaining mystery, avoiding competition, and strengthening trust can transform not only your perception of yourself, but also the way the world perceives your worth. Between neuroscience insights on emotional memory, dopamine, and perception of value, and philosophical reflections on authenticity, freedom, and self-sufficiency, the story shows that personal power is not lost. It has always been within you, waiting to be recognized and used. It is an invitation to take control, turn pain into strength, and live fully, autonomously, and consciously. Facing the raw truth is not just about recognizing facts. It is about feeling the depth of the emotions we carry and understanding how they have shaped our lives. Resistance often arises because it hurts to admit that we allowed situations, decisions, or relationships that diminished us. The absence of self-responsibility creates an illusion of safety, but also keeps us trapped in repetitive patterns. When we distance ourselves from our own awareness, we lose touch with our power, and the sense of emptiness grows silently, like a constant echo reminding us, something must change. Carl Jung reminds us, "He who looks outside dreams, he who looks inside awakens." Awakening requires courage. It demands that we stop blaming circumstances or others and honestly examine our own patterns of behavior, choices, and beliefs. Viktor Frankl adds, "Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space lies our power to choose our response. In this often overlooked space lies the possibility of transformation. Neuroscience shows that this moment of reflection activates brain regions linked to decision-making and self-control, strengthening our capacity for conscious choice over our actions and emotions. Perceiving the raw truth brings pain, but it also opens doors. Every recognition of error or limitation becomes a step toward rebuilding the self." The more we face reality, the more we neutralize the power that old fears and automatic habits once held over us. And in this movement, we begin to free ourselves. We realize that we do not need to wait for anything from the world to begin to change. Personal power is available, ready to be activated, but it requires courage to remain present in front of the truth, even when it is uncomfortable or challenges our comfort zone. The final reflection of this stage is clear. Facing pain does not destroy us. It makes us stronger. By accepting that the raw truth exists and that we can no longer ignore it, we open space for conscious decisions. Every choice made in this awakened state brings us closer to a more authentic and powerful life, laying the foundation for self-care and the rebuilding of the self to become natural next steps. After confronting the raw truth, the need arises to reclaim space for yourself. This is where self-care stops being just a gesture of comfort and becomes an act of power. When you decide to prioritize your own needs, emotions, and boundaries, you send yourself a clear message: I matter. I am a priority. This recognition is not superficial. It is the foundation for rebuilding identity, self-esteem, and inner strength. Without it, every sense of power remains fragmented, like a flame that cannot stay lit. Carl Jung reinforces this. Your vision will become clear only when you look into your own heart. Self-care, then, is this intimate and constant attention to your own being. It is not indulgence but a conscious decision, choosing to sleep, nourish yourself, learn, meditate, create, and connect with everything that strengthens your essence. Nietzsche adds, "Become who you are." Each act of conscious care is a brick in the reconstruction of personal power, showing that autonomy and pleasure can coexist in harmony. Neuroscience supports this approach. When you practice self-care, the brain's reward system is activated, increasing levels of dopamine and serotonin. These substances not only promote well-being, but also strengthen neural connections linked to self-esteem, resilience, and motivation. In other words, the more you invest in yourself, the more your brain associates these behaviors with pleasure and a sense of accomplishment, creating a positive cycle that replaces patterns of passivity and self-sabotage. Strategic self-care also sends subtle signals to the world. By occupying your space with presence and integrity, you show that you are not available for everything and everyone, that you have clear boundaries and non-negotiable self-worth. And paradoxically, it is in this balance between self-care and autonomy that your magnetism grows, attracting respect and attention without the need for competition or external validation. When self-care becomes both habit and awareness, something shifts quietly. The woman who faced her raw truth begins to recognize herself as the owner of her own power, ready to live authentically, fully, and in deep connection with herself. This reconstructed space prepares the ground for the next step, cultivating mystery and curiosity, essential elements for awakening desire and intensity in life. As we begin to occupy our own space, we realize that not everything needs to be revealed immediately. Life gains intensity when we cultivate mystery, not as manipulation, but as an expression of authenticity. There is something irresistible about someone who knows herself deeply and still preserves layers that are revealed only gradually. This secret is not about hiding, but about valuing your own experience and presence, awakening curiosity, first in yourself, then in the world around you. Carl Jung said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is a reaction, both are transformed." Curiosity and mystery are catalysts of this reaction. When you live predictably, repeat old patterns, and give everything away too quickly, you lose the power to surprise and become less captivating. But by maintaining layers of yourself, you create space for genuine interest, motivation, and desire, including within your own mind, which stays active and engaged. Kierkegaard adds, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards." Applying this, we see that mystery is also an invitation to personal exploration. Every unexpected choice, every new experience, every conscious gesture sparks dopamine, activates brain, regions linked to anticipation and reward, and reinforces the emotional memory of pleasure and discovery. In other words, mystery is not superficiality. It is a powerful tool for self-discovery and emotional magnetism. By cultivating curiosity about yourself and about life, you uncover nuances you never imagined existed. Every surprise you create, every small novelty you introduce into your routine or your presence, intensifies your sense of value and increases control over your own experience. Mystery transforms the ordinary into something vibrant, helps you rediscover yourself, and makes the world feel your presence more deeply. And it is exactly at this point that the woman who faces the raw truth begins to realize her power does not depend on external approval, but on her ability to remain whole, intriguing, and alive. This is the foundation for the next step. Understanding that not competing and recognizing your own worth further strengthens your natural magnetism. One of the greatest misconceptions many women face is believing they must compete for attention, approval, or affection. This belief not only drains energy, but also diminishes personal power. When you understand that your worth does not depend on others' perception or validation, you discover something transformative. Competition becomes unnecessary, and your presence naturally becomes impactful. The attention you once chased now approaches on its own, drawn by the strength that radiates from within. Carl Jung reminds us, solitude is not the absence of love, but the encounter with oneself. True power emerges when you place yourself first, without guilt, without comparisons. Viktor Frankl reinforces this. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our power to choose our response. Choosing not to compete is therefore a conscious act of autonomy. Neuroscience confirms this. When you stop seeking approval, your perceived value in the eyes of others increases because the human mind associates scarcity and integrity with something worthy of attention. Not competing does not mean passivity. On the contrary, it means posture, presence, and self-sufficiency. Every gesture, every decision made with quiet confidence conveys more strength than any effort to impress. When you hold your space, respect your boundaries, and choose your battles, you create an emotional pattern that reinforces self-esteem and magnetism. And, paradoxically, it is in this balance between self-worth and freedom that you discover true power, being whole without needing to measure yourself or prove anything to anyone. The understanding that not competing strengthens inner magnetism prepares the way for the final step, transforming confidence and strategic awareness of value into definitive personal strength. It is at this moment that the woman fully awakens, recognizes her inner authority, and realizes that every conscious choice brings her closer to the life she deserves to live. True confidence is not announced, it is felt. When you build your life from awareness of your own truth, self-care, mystery, and recognition of inner worth, you create a presence that cannot be ignored. Every decision made with firmness and authenticity reinforces the perception of personal power. It is not about impressing others, but about aligning with who you truly are, allowing your magnetism to arise naturally. Carl Jung said, "He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens." Awakening means realizing that every choice, every action, and every strategic silence strengthens not only your self-esteem, but also the way the world perceives you. By embracing your own strength, you transform the fear of loss into a quiet incentive. The more you value yourself, the more the world recognizes your presence as unique and irreplaceable. Albert Camus adds, "Real generosity toward the future lies in giving all to the present." Every conscious act, every decision not to give in to old victim narratives creates an emotional memory that strengthens motivation and reinforces neural patterns of autonomy and pleasure. Neuroscience shows that attention, emotional memory, and motivation respond directly to behaviors of confidence and self-awareness. In this way, the woman who faces her raw truth and takes control of her life transforms every challenge into opportunity, every pain into learning, and every choice into a manifestation of power. In the end, the message is clear. The control that once seemed lost was never outside of you. It has always been within, waiting for the moment to be awakened. By facing the raw truth, caring for yourself, maintaining mystery, refusing to compete, and strengthening confidence, you discover that true strength depends on no one but yourself. It is in this state that transformation is complete, and personal power becomes everyday reality.